And we are ready to go ahead and get started with my buddy Sean Davis. Come on up.
All right, show of hands. How many people are afraid of public speaking? Follow Tony, you'll be fine. All right. All right, let me just start off by saying this presentation is not going to be for everybody. Here's the thing. If you look at how corporations, mature corporations are working today, and those of you that are a little fed up and tired of working on things that are for silly people, this is really for you. So things that matter and things that are antimatter. This is not a physics lesson. This is actually going to make a lot of sense after we get into it. Things that matter. This is really defined as things that are to be of importance, things that we find that are critical to us and our daily beliefs and our psyche and things that we're going to make us up. Anti, obviously, is, of course, things that are the opposite of that. So things that matter, our families, our friends. I also extend that out to products and services and things that if you take out of your consumers' hands, they're going to rise up and they're going to slay you. Things like, well, obviously, Wikipedia, okay? Things that don't matter, TPS reports, right? I call these things silly things for silly people. And it's usually generated from things that are in a corporate environment based on a lot of CYA. So we need more things that matter. We need more Wikipedias. We need more things that people are really involved in and invested in, and things that people really actually care about. People really want to get to know these products. So if you're in a corporate environment and you're looking around going, I see real problems, I see real things that we want to be able to fix, and we're just not really doing that, kind of question why we're not doing that. If you see real solutions, if you get real solutions to those real problems, this community, Tampa Bay, actually needs that. It needs people that can find those solutions and focus on that one thing and build that thing that people really care about. Don't get involved and invested in, well, we want to have all these things from Facebook and we have all these things from Twitter and we're just going to glom it all on there. You're getting distracted. Once you find yourselves doing that, just stop. So here's the thing. When I was going through Gazelle Lab, great program, I got the inadvertent moniker of corporate refugee. I was thinking, I don't think I like that. I like corporate renegade, rather, because I didn't think like anybody else. It got me in a lot of trouble, bless you. It got me in a lot of trouble, and it eventually led to my saying, you know what, I'm done. I see what I want to do, and I'm going to make that happen, kind of like some of the other programs and presentations that that you saw tonight. So if you're sitting in a corporate position and you're kind of fed up and tired with the way that things work, and you're not being listened to, or you see opportunities and you see solutions, it might just be your time to bail, because this community, Tampa Bay, look around. You're starting to see an entrepreneurial community really start to come together. We're in the very early stages. And if you're in one of those corporate positions and you're about to be a corporate renegade, we need you. We need that experience, those backgrounds, those histories. So if you've had enough and you're really passionate about building great things for great people and not silly things for silly people, it's time to get involved. We're going to see, thank you, you're going to see a big change in Tampa Bay and this community over the next few years. So if you're getting ready to bail, you might want to think about bringing a few things with me or with you. And trust me, I wish I had brought all of this stuff with me when I left. But here's the deal. Bring these items with you, because you may undervalue them now. You won't when you leave. And when I was going through Gazelle Lab as kind of my own startup, I was looking back going, what was I thinking, man? We really want to have a healthy tolerance for nonsense, or healthy intolerance for nonsense. You want to be able to look at a problem and say, are we talking about just building things to cover our butts, or are we building things for people that are really going to give a damn about? That's really what we want to do. Bring with you a clear vision of the future and where you want to go, and a lot of resiliency, because at some point, that clear vision of the future, well, people are going to look at you and go, we're not really buying into it. So you got to have the ability to take a punch, whether it's in the jaw, in the nose, or in the gut. Somebody's going to come at you and say, we just don't see what you're doing. We don't see the point in what you're working on. So if you can maintain your direction and that clear vision of the future And even after taking your punches, you've got a big leg up on everybody. So the ability to decide is kind of one of the third things that I think you need to be able to bring with you if you're getting ready to bail on a corporate position. You've got to be able to say, this is what I believe in, I'm making a choice, and this is what I'm going to make happen. So jump in, help out Tampa Bay. Let's build it into a real entrepreneurial community. Thank you.
Hello. Hello. Do we get slides? Okay. Great. Okay, so today we are going to look at HTML5. Thank you all for coming today. We're going to look at what is HTML5, how we can use it today, and down to earth look at technology that you can use in your business and enterprise today. So my name is James Brown. My day job is working for Adobe. I built and maintain Adobe TV. I also was a JavaScript developer for Panera Bread. So what is HTML? HTML5. It's hypertext markup language. It's a plain text language that we use to build websites. It's a way to describe data. The web browsers take that data and they render it with what you guys see today, but it's a way to actually describe the data to computers. HTML5 very basically is these 8 different areas. It's HTML5, CSS, JavaScript, and a whole bunch of other areas. It's a very large umbrella. There's a lot under HTML5. You can take a look at the different areas that it covers. There's quite a bit that's involved with it, but we're going to look at a high-level oversight of it today. This is a quick timeline of HTML5. It started back in 1991. Really got going in 04 and 05 with Gmail and with Ajax. And then in 2010, 2011, 2012, we're implementing it today. So you might be asking yourself, how can I use HTML5 today? Sounds like it's a far way off, but we can actually start using it in our applications right away. So which browsers actually support HTML5? Definitely not IE6. IE6 is definitely out of the running, even IE7, but the modern Chrome, modern Firefox, tablets and phones, they all actually do support HTML5 pretty well. So as I mentioned, mobile and tablets, iPhone, iPad, iPad 2, even the Android tablets, they all support HTML5 very well. You can see even in Adobe TV, we're using the video tag currently today. This table actually shows a good example of the different support for HTML5. If you visit that link at the bottom, and I'll post that online later, you can see a lot of the different support for HTML5, and you can see IE6 is not there. How do you get started? So doc type and go. You just really set your doc type at the top of your document, and then we'll look in a second how to actually incorporate that into your documents. So a good way to get started is Initializer and the HTML5 boilerplate. They were written to help you get going with HTML5, and then it's a good starting point to build your applications on top of. So Modernizer is a key component of building applications. It will programmatically detect if the feature set is there. You don't want to detect the browser anymore. You want to detect if the feature's there. And then you can use polyfills to do that. It's JavaScript support for older browsers, and it supplies the HTML5 functionality to the older browsers that don't actually support it natively. Yep, Nope, and Modernizer work together to supply that functionality. You can detect if like geolocation is there, and then conditionally load the JavaScript that you need for that functionality. So is it a replacement for jQuery? Obviously not. jQuery uses HTML5. It actually works with it. and it'll make it faster, and it's not going to replace anything that you're already doing today. So this is a canvas tag example. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the animation to work for this example, but I'll post the link online. This has a ton of fish swimming around this bowl, and it's all rendered in the browser. It's not using Flash, it's just done natively. So one of the sites that I built is html5love.com. It demos actually a lot of the HTML5 features, a lot of the functionality, and it's all open source. It's all up live today. You can go download it, play with it, use it in your documents, and it's all production ready. It's all written in Backbone and in CoffeeScript, so if you're looking for those technologies, definitely take a look. It's all up on GitHub currently. So this last slide is a list of resources and links to get you going with HTML5. If you want to get into it, you want to learn how to use it with your applications today. This is also posted online. You don't need to write these down right now, and it's a good place to get started. Again, my name is James Brown, and thank you very much.
Coming up? Seemed to work, right? All right, louder, see? All right. Awesome. I mean, I can't argue really with this. And I have no idea what that says, but there it is. All right. Well, thank you guys for coming tonight. This is awesome to see everybody out here in Tampa Bay. As a new person to the area, this is pretty awesome to see everybody here. My name is Justin Davis, and we are going to talk about user experience tonight. We're going to talk about it, how it affects the airport. And you can find me on Twitter, by the way, at JWD2A. It's one of the most unusable Twitter things, but that's the irony. I run a company called Madeira Labs. We're a user experience design company here in Tampa. And like I said, I just moved down here from Nashville about 6 months ago. I have the boots here to prove it. And so it's great to be here. But I want to tell you a story about a trip that I took about 2 years ago. I went to Lisbon, Portugal to speak at a conference. I was really nervous about this trip because it was my first international flight, and I was nervous about the connection in Madrid. I only had 45 minutes to connect in Madrid, and it was in a country I don't know, a language I don't know, an airport I don't know, and one of the longest international terminals in the world. 45 minutes. Amazingly, somehow, I got off the plane and made it to the gate, right? And I sort of got there in this state of bewilderment. And as I'm standing in the line panting, I'm thinking to myself, how in the hell did I just do that? I just walked through an airport I don't even know in a country I have never been to, and somehow I did it. Well, it turns out it's actually by design. Airports are really great at design. This is a 255-page manual just on wayfinding and signing guidelines for airports. It's actually really fascinating if you're into this kind of thing. But it spells out how to do this, how to design these experiences. They understand three things: to design globally, design contextually, and design consistently. And these are user experience design principles. And we're going to go through each one of these and talk about how they do that very briefly. First of all, they design globally. Airports understand that the experience of an airport doesn't start at the airport. It starts before the airport, right? They understand that it's larger than just the building, and that it also is embedded in the structure itself. They understand that the architecture of the building, how the building is designed, actually affects the experience. It's not just about putting fancy signs up. It's about, we're going to actually put walls here to generate a better experience for the people here. It's baked into the architecture. They take a look at the entire map of how someone experiences an airport, and they think about every little touch point from the time you're on the interstate getting off the interstate into the airport, and the time when you leave and go back home. And so when you go to design things, think about the entire experience you're designing for. Your product experience doesn't start when people pick it up. It starts before they get to it, after they get to it, and when they're away from it. Consider that global context. Secondly, airports are masters of context. Airports understand the context of the passengers, and they design really well for it. They understand that when you go through a really complex system, that you're going through like little links in a chain, a big wayfinding chain, and they design to support that. In Madrid, they have these great little numbers that as you're running to the gate, They tell you how long you're going to have. They understand the context of a passenger going gate to gate, and they reflect that in these signs. I thought that was really clever. And they also, when they talk about in this guide, they talk about the fact that they don't bombard you with all the information in the terminal, like when you get to your gate, there'll be a bathroom right next door. No, they give you all the information exactly when you need it, just to get to the next link in the chain. Contextual design is really important, helps us to understand complex systems in a really simple and methodical way. And remember that experience changes over time and location. Your product should reflect that. Now, the last thing that airports do, probably not the last, but one other, is that they design really consistently. Airports use signage and they use symbology in a very consistent way. Now, one of the most visible, outwardly visible things like this is something we're all very familiar with, the gate sign. Letter number, letter number. We all see this everywhere in almost every airport you go to. It helps you understand the entire system of airports so that when you go into an airport, you don't have to think, oh God, so the gates are colors in this one. You don't have to think about that. You know how the airport's structured. They think about it at the airport level as well. As you drive up from the interstate into the parking lot, the same symbology is used on the parking lot signs as is used at the gate. This kind of consistency breeds confidence for people, and they don't have to reinterpret things, and you're able to just slide right through the experience. So think about this. As you're designing products and services, this kind of consistency really helps people be able to experience you in a lot better and easier way. So let's recap here. When you design globally, design contextually, and design consistently. Because really, when it comes down to it, user experience is your responsibility when you're creating things. And your users will either blame you if it's bad, or they will praise you if it's great. So please, when you go out there, take a cue from the airports, design better. Thank you guys so much.
Humans. Hi. My name's Shawna Vercher. I'm a talk show host, political correspondent, mom, and activist. So I'm going to talk to you about a little bit of a lighthearted topic this evening. I'm going to make my case for why you should help me to hijack Congress. Excellent. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to lay out my case for doing this and show you exactly what my plan is. So when I say hijack Congress, I want to be very careful here to say that I do not mean kidnapping. That is a felony, as some of my relatives are well aware of. I mean that we know that this country is moving in a direction that we're not pleased with. And so what we need to do is seize it, take control actively, and move it in a different path. It wasn't always like this. When we started out, congressional members were a source of pride for this country. You would have people from nearby farms gather in a schoolhouse and say, who can represent my ideas the best? Who can take my beliefs up there and make things better for the people here at home? But now, over 90% of us believe that Congress is moving in the wrong direction. We believe that they've failed. And not only are they not doing their jobs, most of us believe that they're not even trying. Now, since when do they not represent us? Worse, when you think about Congress, think of the words on the screen: intelligence, creativity, commitment, the best that we have to offer as Americans. Do any of these words describe our members of Congress on either side of the aisle as a whole? Now, when we look at things, it's not even that we're voting for the wrong people. What's happening right now is we've got people that are doing a terrible job, and we have to keep rehiring them because no one else will apply. We've got to get more involved, or we cannot fix the system. And part of it is that Congress has become a caricature. They don't understand that, yes, we want to create jobs, but we also care about working conditions. Sure, we want to secure our borders, but we'd also like to preserve the dignity and the integrity of the people already in them. So surely we can do something where we meet both. I mean, this is the country that invented the internet, put a man on the moon, and for goodness sakes created The Sopranos, one of the best shows of all time. This is a country that can make anything happen. Okay, so if you were going to dive in and fix this country's problems, what would you do? You'd pull out your Rolodex and say, who do I know? Let's get together and let's come up with some ideas. Let's just talk some things out, see how we would do things differently. And once you started mapping them out, you'd realize, man, there's a lot to do here. A lot of problems, a lot of intricacies. This is going to take a bit of time, and quite frankly, I might be a little bit out of my depth. That's all right. You dove in, so what would you do next? You'd go and you'd look for experts in certain fields. You want to solve healthcare, you'd find a doctor. You want to get into education, you'd find a few teachers. You'd make sure that these people are representative, entrepreneurs, moms, people of diverse backgrounds. And you'd say, hey, what do you guys think about us getting together and trying to fix this stuff? Now, this is going to take some time. So what if you take a 2-year sabbatical from what you're doing? I can give you a 6-figure salary, benefits like you wouldn't believe, and oh, by the way, access to pretty much any resource in the world. Does this job interest you? So when you look at this, answer this. Why aren't you in this room applying for it? Right now we have uncontested congressional seats in Tampa Bay. No one is stepping forward for these jobs. In this room, think of the brain power and what we could do if we took those seats. Yes, I love the idea of petitions and protests and absolutely vote and get involved, but right now it's not enough. We have to infiltrate that system and take it over. They're not going to do it for us. And as long as we let them control it, they'll go ahead and take their paychecks. Okay, so we've decided we're taking over Congress. I just took a vote, all opposed? Okay, so how do we do it? Right? How do we take over Congress? Because they have money, they have resources, and they don't want to give it up. Well, first, we need to centralize. We need to make sure instead of everybody trying to do this on their own, we got to find the best people we can. I propose an American Idol of congressional contestants. Let's audition them, put it on television, and actually get to know these people beyond their talking points. Let's go to the different towns and ask all of the workers who is out there that best represents us. Then let's centralize the different nuances of the campaign so they don't have to be political science majors to do this. Infiltrate pop culture so more people start talking about this stuff and be smart with how we're using our media. We've got to stay focused on our job and recognize these divisive tactics. Woman versus man, upper versus lower class, blue collar versus white collar. We're not going to fall for that anymore. That's a commitment we can make. And then we can celebrate the fact that these differences are going to mean new ideas and new perspectives that we bring to the table, that this is actually going to make us better because someone's going to think of something that I can't. So I want them at that table. And above all, we're going to trust that this is going to work, that this was not the way that this country was designed. We can do better than this, and we got to trust in each other that we all want better. And by doing that and coming together and actually believing in this system and getting up and not waiting for someone to do this for us, we could actually take this thing. There's a saying that you only live once, but if you do it right, once is enough. I propose that it's time for us to stand up and become leaders and stop sitting back and hoping that one emerges for us. Take it over with me, and thank you for your time.
Hello, how's everybody doing? Yes, I brought props because I think they're pretty cool. All right, still applause. That's great. Oh, there we go. Okay, my name is Courtney Cress. I am a telecommunications consultant and kite surfer. It just depends if the wind is blowing. I've been kite surfing for 2 years now. Was introduced to it in Maui by a pro kiter named Agent Liam. Basically, kite surfing is the fastest growing sport in the world. It's pretty cool stuff. Kite surfing is an adventure surface water sport that propels a rider across a small board in the water. It's a combination of a couple sports such as snowboarding, windsurfing, and wakeboarding. It also has similar, sorry, I'm a little nervous, similar commonalities to paragliding and power kite flying. A kite surfer age can range from 7 all the way up to 75, so it's a sport for just about everybody. Like I said before, kite surfing is the fastest growing sport in the world. It was developed in the 17th century by the Chinese, called it kite sailing, used to transport items over water to conserve energy. In 1990s, there were only 200 documented kite surfers. In 2006, there were over 200,000 kite surfers documented, and today we estimate that number to doubled or tripled. Excuse me. What you need to become a kite surfer, first and foremost, and most importantly, is, timing's a little bit off, is lessons. Lessons basically teach you the safety aspects of the kite, of the water, because it is an extreme dangerous sport. Secondly is a harness where you hook your kite into when you're riding. Third is wetsuit, dry suit, or booties to keep warm depending on the conditions you're riding in. Obviously a kite and a bar, which I didn't bring today, it's a little bit big to fit in this space. And a board, whether it's a surfboard or a kite board like I have shown up here. An estimation of cost to begin learning kite surfing ranges from $1,500 to several thousands of dollars. What, of course, you need is wind. Steady onshore or side onshore consistent wind ranging from 10 to 35 knots in a decent open body of water with few obstacles such as people or palm trees. Excuse me. Some of the local areas around Tampa Bay could be Picnic Island Park or Cypress Point Park. In Tarpon Springs, you have Fred Howard Park or Sunset Beach. Additionally, down in St. Petersburg, you have Sunshine Skyway, which you guys might be familiar with, seeing local kite surfers there, and East Beach, Fort DeSoto. There are lots of kite surfing destinations popping up across the world because it is, again, an increasingly common, popular sport. Basically, pave a road to get there, and eventually you will see a kite surfer. There are many different types of kiting. The first type of kiting is something called landboarding. And if I get my, there you go. It's basically an oversized skateboard with really big rough terrain wheels. There's also kite surfing and kiteboarding. The difference is based on the type of board you're riding, which I have 2 examples up here as my props. Additionally, in types of kiting is snow skiing, kiting on skis, and kiting on a snowboard. Essentially, you can use the power of the wind to bring you up a snowy mountain, which is pretty cool. I've personally done it last year. The best part about kite surfing is that it's a completely green sport. So we're using the power of Mother Nature, the power of the wind, not damaging animals, marine wildlife, any type of, as compared to boating, which has pollution and so on. I've personally been able to kite surf with dolphins, some manatees, and obviously the occasional shark. So you may be asking, obviously this is a very dangerous part when it comes to the sharks. Yes, there are sharks, and you learn the techniques how to avoid them or how to fend them off. So what I like to do is apply the same methods you do to kiting as to driving. For example, wear proper safety gear, such as wears your seatbelt when you're driving, or don't kite surf in hazardous conditions, and don't drive in hazardous conditions. Obviously, don't drink and kite surf, and don't drink and drive. So again, apply the same commonalities that you do to driving to kite surfing, and you should be safe. Obviously, look out for those sharks. The best part about kite surfing is the tricks. There are lots of different tricks you can pull off, such as big air. Inverted is basically upside down. The middle one is my first back roll. It didn't work out so well. As you can see, my board is completely detached from my feet. Doing tricks allows a kiter to feel young again. It lets them show off, and it's one of the main elements of kite surfing. So obviously, overall, to become a kite surfer, if you're interested in the sport, you need commitment, funds, because it is an expensive sport. Now keep in mind that these funds are a one-time thing unless you consistently damage things and need repair, but there's no paying for lift tickets such as skiing or snowboarding. Once you have your gear, you can travel the world and kite surf anywhere. So thank you for allowing me to share my passion for kite surfing, the fastest growing sport. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm not a tech person. I'm not a business entrepreneur, and I have nothing to sell you. My name is Carla Goddard, and I am a contemporary shaman. I spent the past year traveling across the United States, sharing with people how to do a rethink tank. And what we discovered was that even though shamans work with the souls of human beings, we can take those same things into the business and into the corporate offices. And the way we did this, interestingly enough, is with a paper clip. We took and handed out paper clips to each person sitting around a corporate boardroom, and we asked them to come up with a list of things that they could do with a paper clip. When you define what a paper clip is, you tend to think of it being something you hold paper together with. There are actually, in one boardroom, 2,863 uses for a paperclip. What happened, though, was a little bit interesting because some of the people that were in these rethink tanks that we were hosting actually quit their corporate jobs and we weren't invited back. And they did some really interesting things to make money with them. And so I was sort of elected by the organization to start sharing this thought process with people in the business world. And the way it works is when you do brainstorming, you think from your brain, you're thinking from your perceptions, your experiences, how you have formed your belief patterns. So when you take out your strategy to make money in the world, you're using what you were brought up with, what you think about, what's in your brain. When you shift that to start thinking about things from your soul instead of from your brain, and you start operating in a collaborative nature rather than competing with people, and I know a lot of you are in business and you all compete with people, but I'm sorry, that's not the way of the future, in my opinion. If we stop competing with each other and we start collaborating, we can make money and have successful business operations. In one case, a woman who came to the Rethink Tank, and sorry guys, the Rethink Tanks we've done across the United States and plan to do in Ireland soon are for women only. Why? Because the women that signed up wanted it that way. They wanted to have their own opportunities. This is a picture of a paperclip. This woman is one of the women that quit her job and designed art using rings, and those rings now sell for around $400 a piece, and she spends 89 cents on the paperclip box. This is a picture of another woman that took paper clips to the extreme. This is a chandelier that sold in the multi-thousand-dollar range. So what we're talking about in these Rethink Tanks is if you get together and you have a whole bunch of you, if you put all of you really techie, smart people together with all of the people over here that are the consumers, that are the secretaries and the moms and the people that just are going out that you have to sell to, let's get right down to it, that you have to sell to, and you start asking them how they define a paperclip, and obviously you can take this and use every single word of your business plan. If you have a mission statement and you take every single word in that mission statement and you try to redefine it, but try to redefine it by taking your kids and sitting them around a kitchen table and ask them what do those words mean. We have found that people's social media strategies have been completely revolutionized by doing this. Our page that we took as an example, we went from about 150 people and we're now over 20,000, and we're not experts, we're not techies, and we're not gurus, so and we have no paid social media people. But what we did was we asked women questions like, how do you define beauty? And we made a music video, and they got to direct it and they got to watch it on YouTube and share it with all their friends because they got to star in it as well. So the real question that we brought to people is, can you rethink your mission statement so that you can collaborate with people, cooperate with people, and co-create instead of compete? Because if we stop competing with each other, we might be able to help each other. Thanks.
You can go ahead and clap that I'm up here. Thank you. I appreciate it. My name is Joe Scarfone. I'm a social activist, consultant, and a tech addict. This is the iRehab meeting, right? No? Okay. Anyway, I'm going to be talking to you guys about social change, and specifically how you can utilize 5 steps to start to create social change. As soon as my slides come up, I'll go ahead and get started. I'll do a little dance while we wait. All right, there we go. So so 5 steps to create change. I'm going to be talking to you guys about social change aspects and things like that, and how you can utilize some things to go ahead and create change here in Tampa Bay. So I'm a quotes guy, so I like to start off a lot of my presentations with quotes, and this one is by President Obama. A change is brought about because ordinary people do extraordinary things. Excuse me. And as we've seen here tonight, if people harness their passions and their creativity, truly amazing things can come from it. And social change is no exception to that. Change is something that is constant. It's going to happen whether we control it or not, but we may as well try to see if we can control it and lead the way in getting some issues out there that need to be taken care of. So there is a methodology to social change. Someone identifies a problem, such as SOPA. The problem is, well, it kind of screws over the free internet. The solution that people identified is, let's stop SOPA from passing. That gained momentum, as we've seen over the last few months, and especially yesterday, websites such as Wikipedia blacked out. So that momentum has led to change. Many of the proponents of SOPA have now reversed their stance and are now opposing SOPA. So they are losing sponsorships, which is very good. There is also a formula to change taking place. You kind of got to figure out the amount of the dissent that is going for a specific issue, the vision on how to change that problem or that issue, and the cost, meaning the personal cost, financial cost, emotional cost, etc. If all those equal out to being greater than the resistance against change, then change can be successful. There are several ways that people utilize, there are several tactics that people utilize to create change. One of them is street activism. A prime example of that is the Occupy movement, where they are literally living in the streets to get their message out there. This is a way that social change can move forward. Social media activism. A lot of people refer to this as slacktivism because the theory is that if you can click one button to get a message out there, well, then that's not really doing anything. I disagree with that. I think that social media activism is a huge part of social change moving forward. There's also political action. The good old go ahead and talk to your legislators to try to get them to pass a law or not pass a law. And if they don't do it, try to kick their butts out of office. Now, if all these things don't happen, if all these things don't create change, then all hell breaks loose and we have a revolution, which is what happened in Egypt, Libya, and several other countries in the Middle East. Revolution is when the people decide we're not going to take it anymore and we're going to go ahead and take change into our hands. We don't want to get to that. So now that I've kind of given you guys the science and the methodology a little bit about social change, I'm going to go into the 5 steps. These are by no means the only things to get you going into social change, but they are kind of the basic framework of how you can go ahead and create social change. So step 1 is to identify. You want to identify a problem that you see in the community and a solution to that problem. This can be anything that you're passionate about, anything that you see in the community that needs changing. Now that you have that clear vision, you want to engage people to gain a following. This is so that you can get a core group behind you. Use things like social media, your personal networks, your offline networks, because believe it or not, there is a world off of the computers, even though that, as I said, I need to be at eye rehab. And then when you go ahead and once you've got that group engaged, you then empower them. You need to give them authority over something. You need to make them feel like they are a part of this movement that you're trying to create. Otherwise, they're not going to follow you. Then you need to amplify it. That's when you go back to social media and you go ahead and utilize the social media activism to get your message out there even more to the general public. This is where you get the masses behind you. And then after your amplification of your issue, you need to go ahead and mobilize. This is where you get the general public to support you. This is through online petitions. This is through letter writing campaigns, things like that, that this way you can mobilize that base of people that you have, both your core and the general public, to go out there and get that mission going. If all these things fall into line, then you have success. You will create change at some level. Whether it be a small change or a huge change, you've accomplished a goal. Now, there's a lot of passions in this room, as we've seen tonight. And really, any kind of change, as I mentioned, is in our hands. If you see an issue in the community, whether it be small or big, I challenge you to take those first steps to go ahead and create that change. Because if you don't do it, no one will. And I want to go ahead and close on another quote. We must remember that one determined person can make a significant difference, and that a small group of determined people can change the course of history. I see a large group of determined people here tonight, and I really think that we can change the course of history if we all work together. Thank you.
All right. Let's give it up for Ignite Tampa, right? So, my name is Aubrey Goodman. I am a rocket scientist. I have an aerospace engineering degree to back that up. In 2000, I worked with a college team in University of Maryland to take a Chevy Suburban and turn that into a hybrid vehicle, and we won first place nationally. And so I've been working with technology and transportation for a long time, but transportation is all about freedom, right? I mean, we look at the open road, and it's very much a symbol of freedom. If you were to ask the average American to let go of their car, they'd probably look at you like crazy. But freedom has a cost. With all the distractions we have, whether it's a conversation with passengers in the vehicle or by text message, it's not really the safest thing to have individual drivers out there. And when you add in drunk drivers and fatigue and incompetence generally, we're collectively killing a lot of people on the roads every year. It's 40,000 last year. That's a lot. And that's just one part of the problem. We're flooding the roads with cars full of one person, giant SUVs with one person in them. That's not efficient. It's not helping the society. So we talk about public transportation and buses and fixed routes, and we all agree, I think, that buses are good, and that's a step in the right direction. But it's good only if you live on the route. If you live in Citrus Park or Tampa Palms, it's not even really safe to walk to the bus stop. And let's face it, buses are safe when you're on the bus. But when you're not, you're waiting for it, you're exposed. You're exposed to the elements, you're exposed to the locals, right? Not exactly the best place to set up a laptop, right? I think we'd all agree that we'd rather be in a cafe having a nice cup of tea or a coffee or even a pint of beer while we sit and check our email waiting for the ride. And it wouldn't be great if we got an SMS when it was time to get out of the coffee. Hey, I'm here. Okay. Now, we're all passengers, right? And I think we can agree that this gentleman would much rather be a passenger than a driver. And we want him to be a passenger, because that ain't safe. Now, how do we do that? Well, there's a lot of systems right now that are using on-demand transportation systems to deliver things to us. Now, if you'd imagine trying to go pick up your dishwasher at the bus stop, UPS wouldn't really stay in business for very long, would they? No. They need to deliver to your house. And they deliver to your house by using efficient mechanisms, using the appropriate task for the appropriate job. Long distances, train or plane. Short distance, or medium distances, truck or something like that. And for the last leg, it's a van. And people should move the same way. And really, they do already. A lot of hotels are offering luxury add-ons to improve the customer experience by hiring local driving services. And luxury isn't even the half of it. I mean, some of these Sprinter van conversions have incredible luxury. Power at your seat, leather seats, a desk for your laptop. I mean, imagine the first half hour of your day being there. Well, but the Sprinter van conversion is a good thing, but we all have to play nice together in the end, right? We need to merge this into the future. If we have people with cars, they need to be able to use their cars. They've spent the money, they might as well be able to do that. And we want bus drivers to stay employed. We want them to be happy. We even want them to have even more happiness by not having to follow a fixed route. Okay, turn left, it's boring. Nobody wants that. They want to be able to be engaged with their consumer. And even more so, we want average Joes to be able to participate in this system. Like mom, already driving the kids to the soccer practice, might as well pick up a fare and make some money for the family. I think that's a good idea. And really, we just have to connect people. Everybody has a smartphone. Everybody, it seems like these days. So if we have the technology, the hardware to get people where they need to go. We have the technology to connect them. It's all about software. And really, this is a hard problem. It's an extension probably twice as hard as one of the hardest problems in computer science called the traveling salesman problem. Imagine trying to optimize the shortest path through all these points, never visiting one path more than once. It's not easy. It's not easy for a person. It's not easy for a computer. And there's really smart people working diligently on solving this problem with neural networks and genetic algorithms and crazy shit that the computer makes a thought that it's the right solution, right? And that's where we're headed. But the icing on the cake of all this is, imagine it's fine if you're in the car if you have Wi-Fi with a 100-meter range, but what happens if the car is a cell tower repeater with 30 kilometers of range? Now, as long as you're within 30 kilometers of your car, you have cell coverage wherever you are. Now, this is all a segue to the future, where cars will drive themselves, and you can be free to text whoever the hell you want without endangering anybody's life, yours or anyone else's. And that, my friends, is the future. Thank you very much.